In progress.
Hi, folks. We are just going to give everyone a couple minutes to come in, be settled, and then we'll get started. So feel free to grab that last drink of water, do what you need to do. We'll get started about 2 minutes after the hour. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Thank you all so much for joining us. We're so thrilled to have you with us this afternoon. And I do think it's afternoon for all of our time zones at this point, or just about. So I am very happy to have you all, and we are pleased to have you join us for our second webinar in our FAAN webinar mini series. We are highlighting FAAN statewide backbone organizations and highlighting best practices from campus support programs in their network. And this webinar will feature our colleagues from Positive Pathways Florida and the Unconquered Scholars Program. A couple housekeeping items for you. So we have hopefully done what we wanted to do and enabled the chat feature. So you're welcome to chat with us throughout. And of course, we invite you to submit your questions via the Q&A feature or the chat feature. We are going to hold some time at the end where we can go ahead and answer your questions. Our panelists are more than happy to answer any questions you may have, expand upon on what they're saying. And of course, we will have this recording of the webinar and any handouts that are shared available in the next couple of weeks on our FAAN website, which we will share at the end of this webinar. You may have come to our previous webinar, our first FAAN webinar in the mini series, and that recording is now live on our FAAN website. That one featured our colleagues in Michigan. So please welcome me in joining us and welcoming Jasmine and Lisa Jackson. Jasmine, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. And thank you, Maddie and Lori, for the invitation to speak a little bit about Florida today. I'm going to share my screen here really quickly and get started. Bear with me one second. Okay, so everyone should be able to see my screen. So again, welcome. My name is Jasmine Moore, and I'm the Senior Director of Positive Pathways. I'm really excited to share with you about our backbone organization here in the state of Florida and talk a little bit about what we do to support our students who have utilized the foster care and homeless waiver, and how we collaborate and connect with professionals who also support our students in this capacity. So first, I would like to start just a little bit about us and our history. So we originally began in 2013 as a volunteer organization called Florida Reach. And in 2016, due to changing laws and legislation, we received a contract from the Department of Children and Families to collaborate with the Florida Department of Education to administer what is now known as Positive Pathways. And we primarily exist to make sure that our students who are utilizing the tuition and fee exemption, whether it be from foster care or homelessness, to make sure that they have access to resources and to increase their success as they're navigating through these post-secondary education opportunities and to help with that transition. I should also note that while we're contracted by the Department of Children and Families here in Florida, we are administered by Educate Tomorrow, which is a nonprofit organization based out of Miami, Florida, that has worked countless years in this field to advocate and promote the success of our students and this population. Currently, our network has just a little over 300 members, which consists of people from very different entities across the state that I'll get through here in a little bit. And our goal really is to just make sure that everyone's informed, that they're educated about the laws and resources, and to be that bridge and have those connections made between the different organizations that we support. So to talk a little bit about our purpose, I kind of gave you guys a rundown of that, but I want to focus here on the right-hand side with our action model. So at the heart of what we do are our students. We want to make sure that they are knowledgeable, that they are successful with their goals. And in order to do that, it takes a village, it takes collaboration and communication across these different entities. So not only do we support our students, but we also make sure that we have connected their families, their peers, their neighborhoods. So informing communities about the resources that exist for students who have experienced foster care or homelessness. We obviously tie in our independent living sector of this. So that's our community-based care organizations that are working specifically with our foster youth who may be aging out, or if they were adopted from care, any of those categories, to make sure that they are aware of their waiver and who to give that to once they reach a college or university. Speaking of colleges and universities, our education communities are also a big part of our network. So that's our colleges, our universities, and what I'll get into a little bit later, we're focusing on our career and technical education opportunities as well, because that's growing nationwide, but really a lot of attention of that is here in Florida as well. And last but certainly not least, our nonprofit organizations. So these are organizations that could be supporting both foster care and homeless youth. They could be supporting them either at the K through 12 level or while they're pursuing post-secondary goals. They also are in our network too. And some of our deliverables here, so what we strive to complete each year, and what we provide throughout the state of Florida. First are our monthly network calls. So we have a standing meeting that's usually the first Wednesday of every month, where we invite our network members to come together to connect with each other, to learn about a specific topic or new legislation or new resource that can be of use to their students. And then also learn from each other about best practices, what people might be doing in a different area or a resource that they weren't aware of that can be helpful for their student as they're pursuing their educational goals. We also host webinars. So we provide quarterly webinars every year that usually focuses on a topic that we're hearing from our network members or students that they need more information about. So for example, a huge one last year, and again this year, will probably be representatives from the Florida Department of Education to talk about FAFSA, because we all know how important that is with our students and making sure that they're getting the financial aid that they need. Another example is we may have people that have done research on campus support programs or best practices to come and present that and hear from the student perspective what is useful when they're pursuing their goals. Our network members also have daily access to immediate technical support. So that's me. I am here to assist our members if they have a situation or a problem or just a clarifying question that I can assist them with. And if I don't know the answer, my goal in my job is to make sure that they're referred to the right point of contact or find that information for them so that I can assist them with their issue. We also host regional meetings. So we will travel across the state each year and host a regional forum. So that's an opportunity for people within that specific community to get together and network and talk about unique issues or problems or best practices as it relates to their specific community. Because what we'll find across the state of Florida, we're a huge state, and some areas of Florida may have more resources than the other, or there might be unique needs. So this is just a good time to come together and discuss that, problem solve, and then also build those connections too between the different agencies in that community that can assist their students. With Positive Pathways, we also host an annual conference each year, and this is an exciting time for people to come together face to face to learn more in detail about some of the programs that are offered across the state, learn about the resources. And we also strive to include the student voice in this as well. For example, this past year, we made sure that each of our sessions had the student voice incorporated in their presentation. And that's important just because we want to make sure that our efforts with supporting foster youth and homeless youth are meeting their markers, and that if there's anything that we need to address, we can go back to the drawing board and try to figure out how we can address those needs. And last but not least, we also offer updated resources and a directory of campus-based and community-based liaisons on our website. And I'll get into that a little bit, but on our website, anyone that is working with the youth in Florida and they know that they're transitioning to a college or university or technical program and they're trying to figure out who to refer that student to, they can go to our website, get that information, and make a direct handoff versus a student trying to navigate that on their own. So those are just some of the examples of the deliverables that we have within our organization. Really briefly, just some expectations that we have for our members. The first one, helping students with enrollment, financial aid, applications, and exploration of career opportunities. Oftentimes, this is not going to be one person. As we have found in this work, it's not one person that's doing the work. It's really a team, it's collaboration, it's a community. So with that point of contact that's at the college or university, knowing who that handoff is for that student at their institution is really important and vital in our students' experience. So just knowing how to connect students with those resources and making referrals is appropriate. We also encourage our members on the campus and state college environment to develop those internal networks and connections. Oftentimes we'll find that they'll invite people from their financial aid department or admissions to be a part of our network to learn a little bit more about this population and the why behind why there's so much support behind our students and the importance of just learning a little bit more about their background so that we can advocate for their needs. We ask that our members participate in monthly program conference calls. So those were the monthly meetings that I discussed earlier. And also important is to voice opinions or concerns on matters of importance related to the students. So if there's a question about best practices with handling a waiver or resources or anything like that, letting us know so that we can speak with our counterparts at DCF and the Florida Department of Education, just to make sure that we're providing the most updated referrals and resources and information to our people. So I thought it was important to kind of talk about the laws and data that supports our statewide organization. So in the state of Florida, first with our students who have experienced foster care, they are eligible for tuition and fee waiver up until the age of 28, and they can use this at any public university, college, or technical program, technical college program throughout the states. There you can see the stipulations on how they can qualify for it. But just to point out a couple, so any student that has aged out of foster care, if they spent at least 6 months in care, a student that was placed in relative or non-relative care. This also applies to those who were adopted from care or were placed in permanent guardianship. So this exemption they can use until they're 28, and they can use it for several degrees. So we've celebrated a lot of our students who have gone on to receive their JD or their doctorates, or they decided to go back to school to pursue a master's in something else that they were passionate about. So this is a really great resource for our students here in the state of Florida. Also tied with that, so an House bill came out in about 2022 to just clarify and really put into law some requirements for our colleges and universities as it relates to supporting our students who have experienced homelessness. So we've always had, like, since 2016, in the legislation to have a point of contact or liaison at our colleges and universities to assist our students who have experienced foster care. And this House bill directly stated that there also needed to be a point of contact for those utilizing the homeless tuition and fee exemption. And I would say one of the most important things from this legislation is the last bullet point that you see there that stated that if a student is determined to be homeless, that they should be presumed homeless for subsequent years unless the institution has conflicting information. So that was a huge change that happened in 2022 that Positive Pathways really took the lead on educating and talking to campus support liaisons across the past couple of years on how to navigate this, to figure out who that point of contact or liaison is. And this is now officially wrapped up into our work. It's always been a population that we've supported, but with this new law, this definitely just put a little bit more attention on our homeless students. And just to tie into that, so who that point of contact should be, they should be knowledgeable, accessible, and responsive, and be able to assist students with any problems related to the exemption. So that could mean knowing who to refer them to on campus, whether it be a financial aid person or any other resource that's on their campus, making appropriate referrals. And we found too, and we'll get into this a little bit later, that some institutions in the state of Florida have been able to dedicate more funding towards their programs to have wraparound campus support programs that focus on the holistic needs of students. So this just gives you a little bit more detail about what that point of contact or liaison at the minimum should do. So because of that legislation, all of our colleges and universities have a point of contact that you can see here. And it varies depending on the funding. You may see that there's a liaison that's able to make referrals, or you may see that they have funding at their institution to provide a little bit more support within that program that that liaison may be overseeing. But we are here to be that bridge for students who are utilizing that waiver to make sure that they're connected to the right people on campus. And also their networks too. We may be contacted by their guardian ad litem or their case manager, or someone who just has really invested in the student, that knows that they're about to transition and graduate from high school and go on to the next step for them. And they'll reach out to us to make sure that they're connected to the right person who is knowledgeable about the waiver and can point them in the right direction as they transition to their next educational goal. So this is the most recent data that we have from our Florida college system and the State University System of Florida. The next two slides will break down the DCF, Department of Children and Families tuition and fee exemption, and then the homeless waiver as well. So as you can see here, for the Florida college system, we had just over 3,700 students utilizing that at our state college level. And then at the university level, we had a little over 1,500 that are utilizing that at our universities, which brings us to around 5,300 students that are using it across the state of Florida. And we've seen this steadily, with the exception of COVID, we've seen a steadily increase in the number of students that are utilizing the waiver. As far as the homeless waiver, the same can be said that we're seeing more and more students that are utilizing the homeless tuition and fee exemption. We have more students enrolled at the college level there with 776. At our university system level, we have 392 that utilized it in 2022 to 2023, with a total of 1,168 within that academic year that were utilizing the homeless waiver. So we have a great number of students that are utilizing these supports, and it just speaks to the importance of making sure that we have organizations like Positive Pathways to help facilitate that transition and to help make sure that they're as successful as possible when utilizing these waivers. So campus support programs, as I stated earlier, at the bare minimum in Florida, there should be a point of contact, but there are some colleges and universities throughout the state that have additional funding that they're able to dedicate towards creating programs with wraparound supports. So these are just some of the examples that you see here. You have Miami-Dade College, Educate Tomorrow at MDC. We have the RISE program at St. Pete College. We have the SOS program at Broward College, and then Emerging Eagles at Tallahassee Community College. So these are some of our state colleges that are able to provide a little bit more comprehensive support within these liaisons with what they can provide for students utilizing the DCF and homeless tuition and fee exemption. And then on the university side of things, and you're going to hear from Lisa Jackson here in a minute about the FSU program, the Unconquered Scholars Program. But with the other three, with FAU, there's Educate Tomorrow at FAU, there's University of South Florida Pearls, and then Fostering Panther Pride at Florida International University. And we are here and we work with all of these programs, whether they have a fully supported campus support program or just a liaison, to make sure that they're educated and informed about the legislation, about resources, and to be that bridge and contact between DCF and the Department of Education. So this is my contact information if you want to reach out. I just wanted to give you guys a brief overview of our network and what we do and some of our deliverables, but there's definitely a lot more that I could talk about when it comes to the state of Florida. So please feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions about what we do. I will say some of the things that we're focusing on next is to venture off into the career and technical education world of things and really get them engaged in our network because we're seeing more and more students enrolled in that opportunity. But for now, that's all for me, and I'm going to pass it over to Lisa Jackson.
Thank you, Jasmine. Let me go ahead and get my slides pulled up. All right, you should all be able to see my slides. Go ahead and move this out of the way. There we go. Hello, everyone. My name is Lisa Jackson. I am the assistant teaching professor at the College of Social Work, the strategic faculty associate at the Center for Academic Retention and Enhancement, also known as CARE at FSU. That department houses the Unconquered Scholars Program. And I'm also on the board of directors for the National Association for the Education of Homeless Children and Youth. This is definitely my area of passion and expertise, and I'm really just pleased to be able to take time at the invitation of FAAN to share a little bit about the Unconquered Scholars Program with you today. So who's a part of our program? Well, we refer to them as scholars, and it's any student who has experienced foster care, homelessness, relative care, or award of the state status at Florida State University. The program began in 2012. That was a year before the legislation statute passed in Florida to require a campus coach. Of course, Jasmine touched on that a little bit earlier. And the university was immediately really passionate and committed to providing robust wraparound supports to these students. Our mission was to provide qualified university students guidance, mentorship, advocacy, security, and a voice to further ensure their personal academic success and their long-term independence. We really were very intentional, and Jasmine spoke on this a little bit as well, on focusing on engaging student leadership to identify challenges that these students might experience at FSU and to leverage allyship to remove those barriers to to enhance overall student well-being, retention, and graduation. So when the program began, there were conversations about even trying to identify where our students were and to find out if we were to build a program, how the students who had the lived experience really wanted to be involved. What would they want that program to look like? And so we were able through in those days, pretty tedious means through FAFSA information, identify which students we thought would qualify. And we asked them to come sit with us in a collaborative space to really design this program. We recognize that they're the experts in what it is to be at Florida State with their history and experience and strengths. And they very graciously agreed to help design the program's mission, its structure, and its operations. And that is eventually what led to the launch of Unconquered Scholars. The Student Advisory Board still continues to this day in informing the operations of the program. They collaborate closely with Caitlin Cates, our single point of contact at FSU, and they inform the university about their unique experiences and any systematic barriers they're encountering that might be impeding their progress. And then we all collaborate and shared advocacy to be sure that anything that's getting in their way is hopefully being modified so that's no longer a problem. But some of the things that we asked them and things that I wanted to share out today that might be helpful for anyone really kind of trying to build a program was what was important to them, right? What type of programming did they want? What were their concerns about having a dedicated campus support program? They decided on the name of our program and don't want to go too far into the history of it, but Unconquered has a very special meaning to our university. And it really captures the spirit of their determination to face really difficult times and challenges and still persist and thrive. And they helped design our mission, and they really ultimately helped us decide which students on campus would qualify. So this is very oriented towards understanding that these students really know best what they need in a higher education space and honoring that through our actions. So we have several essential elements that we focus on to be sure that we are providing the best service we can to the students, from general admissions and their academic support through all the things that really every student needs, right? When they're going to college, they need money, they need housing, food, overall wellness, and they really need to find their community. And we have structured the program based on their input to try and kind of hit all of those areas. So let's talk a little bit about access and academics. The first thing that we do is we try to recruit to our university the students who would qualify as an Unconquered Scholar. Years ago, FSU actually put in their strategic mission, their plan, that we develop a pipeline for these students into our university. So we are deliberate every year about doing outreach through our Department of Children and Families and our State Department of Education to let them know that it is time for students to apply to the university as first time in college, and to give them all the steps that they need to fill out that application and to serve as support while they fill out those applications in the hopes that they will, pursue higher education. And many of those students that join Unconquered come in through our alternate admissions program, which is CARE's Summer Bridge program. The last time I checked, it took like a 4.3 or higher weighted GPA to be a first-time in-college student at FSU. I think we've had over 70,000 applications for about 6,000 spots for freshmen. So we want to really try and make that application process more equitable for our students. And so we encourage them to apply through CARE's Summer Bridge, which reduces the academic markers, the requirements for standardized testing and high school GPA in order to provide them easier access to the university. So instead of that 4.2 or 4.3, they can be considered with a 3.0 GPA. And we take in many of our students that way, although others get in through standard admissions. We also offer campus tours. In fact, Positive Pathways often organizes one every year and brings hundreds of students across the state to visit lots of different campuses. And we also do that for smaller organizations. So students who've had these lived experiences can start to see themselves on a campus and see themselves as a student, and to meet with other students that have had similar lived experiences to just really make it more realizable as a goal. We also do early identification admissions application. So years ago, like I mentioned, we would identify these students through FAFSA data, and it was just time consuming and cumbersome. And so we built relationships across campus, including with our admissions department, and they agreed to modify our standard admissions application to FSU and ask those criteria questions so that we know immediately if a student thinks that they qualify as a student who's experienced foster care, homelessness, relative care, or ward of the state status. This really gives us a strong sense, A, of how many students are applying that could qualify, but it also lets us reach out to the students who are admitted right away and let them know that we have a program that they're able to join if they're interested, and to let them know we have a dorm and a kit box for them, and connect them with other students who can kind of give them the lowdown on what it's like to be a Florida State Seminole. Of course, just like any other large institution, we also have a lot of resources for our students to support their academic progress and success, including tutoring, computer labs, academic programming and workshops, academic advisors. And then we have funding in our program for when we meet with a student who indicates that they think they may be experiencing a learning difference, have perhaps a learning disability that's gone undiagnosed. And we use that funding to send these students, our scholars, for psychoeducational testing so that we can determine if there is something going on for the students and help them secure the appropriate accommodations at the university so that they can move past that barrier and continue to progress academically. Because as I'm sure everyone here is aware, right, there are a lot of benefits to completing a degree in higher education, from the standpoint of income over the lifespan to overall well-being. So we're really trying to cover as many bases as we possibly can to be sure that these students who are interested in FSU can easily access our university and persist academically and thrive with the supports and strengths that they have available and that we can provide. Now, funding is the other component. Thankfully, Jasmine also touched already on our Florida tuition fee waivers from the Department of Children and Families and the homeless tuition exemption. Those are fantastic, but it costs a lot more than the cost of tuition and fees to actually attend a university. So we want to be sure that we're providing as much grant aid, financial aid that doesn't have to be paid back to our students as possible. FSU has been very deliberate about raising money for first generation college students. Of course, many of our students fall under that umbrella so that we can provide them with first gen grants and other state grants to give them additional funding beyond that tuition fee waiver that they can use to just live on, right? To pay for food or housing as much as possible. And there have been times where we have students who are at the 100% cost of attendance with all that grant aid and the tuition fee waiver. We had several years where our students were at least 75, 80% cost of attendance. It just kind of varies by student and how much scholarship money they're bringing in with them to the university. Of course, we're able to connect them with scholarships once they get here. And through collaboration with financial aid, we try and make sure that any of our students who are eligible for a federal work study opportunity and are offered that through financial aid take that opportunity to earn that little bit of extra money to get an on-campus work-study job, that one's really fantastic because it's sort of twofold beneficial, because those students can also apply for SNAP benefits, which is going to help with their expenses for food. So we help them navigate those processes so that we are trying to be sure they have the absolute most amount of free money and resources they can at the university. In our program, we also do two separate programmatic elements based on feedback from students over the years. It's wonderful to be at 100% cost of attendance for our students. It's also a big adjustment to have a large financial aid disbursement for someone who may have very limited experience on how to manage money. And so, of course, we all talk about financial literacy. That is very important. And so we have an intervention or a program that not only teaches our students the pluses and minuses of how to manage their money, but the dollars and cents program, cents obviously spelled the way appropriately for what we're trying to help them develop, is that we have an emotional relationship with money, and really understanding that can help guide our spending decisions. So that's been something we've had in place for years and seems to be very beneficial for our students so that they can hopefully, to the best of their ability, make the most of the funding that they do have dispersing to their checking account, a week or two into every semester. We've had students where that's, tens of thousands of dollars, and that can go quickly. So we also have the Senior Scholars Leadership Institute. That's a program that we have in the program to help our seniors prepare financially to launch. We put them through some programming that they've helped develop to prepare for life after graduation. We pay them for that work, and then we offer to up to match the money that they saved during their senior year so that they can launch with twice that amount of money to increase their financial stability once they leave the university, because we are limited by our ability to help students financially to the point that they graduate, and then we can't provide any additional financial assistance. So this was our way to try and help them as much as we could before they actually leave the university with their degree. Other concerns are housing, food, and overall well-being. We have campus housing at FSU, but we always want to assess our students' housing stability when they first join us. Do they have some place to go during the housing gaps, right? When residence halls close, traditionally on our campus. And if not, we want to be sure we can try and get them into a dorm, residence hall that's open year round. So that takes a lot of coordination with students, our staff, and university housing or other off-campus housing partners like scholarship housing at, for example, here in Florida, we have a Southern Scholarship Foundation, which is an amazing partner for our students. And then we also have the Places program at FSU. That's been in place for a few years now. That allows us to provide a limited number of beds in university housing for students experiencing homelessness, kind of on the fly. So if someone suddenly finds themselves evicted or experiencing some other housing crisis, we try and make sure that we have a bed available for them until we can help them get stabilized and into some other housing situation. In terms of food stability, we have multiple food pantries on campus. A lovely food pantry that serves our entire university, the Food for Thought Pantry. But for years, what we heard from our students was that they really didn't want to access that food pantry. They felt more comfortable eating actually back in the day off of the snack shelf in my office. And we decided we really had to meet our students where they were and see this as something that would be helpful for them. And so we put in a food pantry in CARE, that center in the center of our campus, that is specifically for their use. It's just like walking into your family room and grabbing snacks off the shelf. We're also each year able to provide a limited number of free meal plans to some of our students and dining dollars, which are just like when a parent would put money onto a dining card for our student. And then we take them on grocery runs as needed. Of course, from other perspectives, we try and make sure that they have access to medical assistance, mental health services. as they progress through their time at FSU. And we have a lot of those services available to them on campus at, well, mental health services are free, and then we have to navigate some of the medical services. In terms of community building, this is really essential. There's all sorts of information, if you look at like Aston's work and Tinto, they really are very clear about how students need to build community to stay retained, and those that stay retained can get graduated. And our students really described a struggle getting building community and feeling like they belonged, like they mattered on our campus. And so we really wanted to build out programming that would try and counteract that. And ultimately, we came up with a lot of different options based on their feedback. First, we use a cohort model to get our students into the program. We tailor our programming by their year of entry, based on kind of what we've heard from them over the years about what they would like to see or need. But we stay flexible to individual students' strengths and opportunities for growth and development. And then we kind of scaffold the support level that we're offering throughout their time at FSU in preparation for their launch into life after college. Now, we're always accessible and available, but we want to be sure that we're also helping them develop the skills they're going to need once they leave FSU and can no longer access our resources in the way that they did as a student. As you can see, we have lots of campus family traditions that have all been driven by their inputs. We have Family Friday meals, which is in a coordination with our food recovery network at FSU from the athletes dining hall, and they bring over lots of really yummy treats. And we have a campus family meal together in a room that is built specifically for our students, and I'll show that to you in a minute. We take them on a summer beach trip. They have a summer mixer. We have an annual mac and cheese cook-off where they all bring in their mac and cheese dishes, and they all taste each other's, and they vote on which one is the best one. And we watch a FSU football game that night. They have a spring brunch, winter holiday gathering, and then we also have some specific events that are meant to be building community as well as additional supporter skills. So at the beginning of each semester, we have a syllabi supper where all students come in, they have snacks, they share time together, and then we all sit down and make sure that they have built out into their schedules and calendars the requirements of each class's content, so that they have all their due dates and they know how to kind of plan out their semester right away. We do apps and apps, which is kind of what it sounds like, lots of yummy appetizers. And then we help students fill out different applications they might need assistance with. Do they need SNAP benefits? Are they applying for Medicaid? We've had students apply for car insurance, you name it. So. And then we just have board barbecues. We have an annual awareness banquet where we celebrate our students that have, stayed retained that year and graduated. All of this, again, driven by their input and their desire to have that space together. These are pictures of our Unconquered Scholars Study Suite. They told us for a long time that they really needed a space to be with peers who just get it. Get what it's like to have the life experiences they have had. And that led to us building out a site in Thagard, the building that houses care, that's just for them. They actually have swipe access to it. A few of our staff have access to it. It has couches and dining room table and computers and fridges and microwave and their pantry, and they're able to just stop in there, during normal business hours effectively and see each other and hang out between classes and grab food and have community and feel like they don't have to keep their guard up based on what they've told us over the years. And that's really been a profoundly powerful element of the program. We were very fortunate that we had support throughout campus to go ahead and do that because space is tight on our campuses. I'm sure others are having that similar challenge. Other things our students told us they needed was an alternative to what used to be known as Parents Weekend on campus. So we now have Family Weekend at FSU, where we take our students over many years now off of campus during Family Weekend, and we have a campus family weekend somewhere else. Over the years, it's been at Disney. We'll be actually going to Disney September 20th through the 22nd again. We take about 40 students so that they can leave campus while our campus is flooded with parents. We were told by our students that they experienced emotional and academic declines after that weekend. And we proposed to the university that we really wanted to do something to try and mitigate that. And they fully supported that. So, and as you can see, we have a couple of other sort of travel opportunities for them based on what they've shared with us that they would like to see. From an administration perspective, we encourage, and what's been helpful for us is to cultivate awareness and a support network on our campus and off, to work closely with our development department to be sure that we have adequate funding for all of these different programs and food and travel. It's also really important to find the right staff. They need to be a good fit to support the student population, and stability is also really essential. Someone who's willing to commit, if they can, for a long period of time in that role, so that we're minimizing the amount of disruption in services and relationships with our students. Of course, we participate with Positive Pathways in our statewide network, and each program really needs to be keeping records, developing their program, and evaluating their program. So those are just some of the administration pieces. Some of the guiding principles for our program staff. I'm sure for all my social workers out there, these won't come as any surprise. We're deeply committed to a strengths perspective, SailB's work, understanding that all humans experience challenges and hardships, and we can acknowledge that and also really leverage the strengths that come out of those experiences. And so we approach our work with the students in that fashion. And what we've seen over the years is that also really helps them re-narrate or re-author their experiences in a way that helps them see their own strengths at times when they didn't before. We meet the students where they are so that we can really best serve them no matter how they're arriving to our campus, whatever their needs are. Of course, non-judgmental acceptance, unconditional positive regard, no matter what's going on with the students, and respect for self-determination. I've been told over the years that certain institutions require these students to participate in their campus support program. That's sort of the antithesis of our approach. If you want to join, that's great. If not, that's okay too. Ultimately, it's their life, and we're just here to try and help them decide what's best for them. And so we're very respectful about that. We also want to deliver on all of our commitments, right? Many of the students have experienced significant disappointments from the people and systems that they interact with. And so we want to, under promise and over deliver with this student population. And we believe that's really helped the program be successful and the students to more closely engage with our staff because they see the consistency. We're very authentic with our students. We're not transparent. They don't know everything about our lives, but authenticity is essential. And we do what we can to nurture their sense of campus family. And what we found over the years in our most recent data indicates that we have a 90% first year retention rate. So those are our students that are starting and then re-enrolling the following fall. So those are our freshmen into sophomore years. Our 6-year graduation rate based on data from this last spring, so April, May, was a 91% 6-year graduation rate for our students, and they usually hover right around a 3.0 cumulative GPA. So we believe that the students have really guided the program in our institution into a space where we can provide them with significant support. And that's sort of the approach that we've taken to this work. This is my contact information I also wanted to provide you with a resource for kind of building or expanding on campus support programs. As a part of my work with NACCE, we've just recently launched a second edition of a single point of contact user guide. NACCE is obviously very focused on students experiencing homelessness, but as we all know, there's often quite a bit of overlap for youth who have experienced foster care and the experience of homelessness. So that might be useful to folks out there who are kind of trying to, start from scratch or maybe just start to expand their program. All right. That's it for me.
Awesome. Thank you both so much. This was just an incredible presentation. There's things that I learned both from you, Lisa, and from you, Jasmine. I see in the chat, people also saying this is great, and hoping that we can provide those links. We will provide the link that Lisa shared in a follow-up email. Oh, and you got it there. So we'll do that both ways. That's great. Again, we will have this presentation available in a few weeks on our YouTube channel and on our FAAN website. I'm curious if there's any questions out there. I didn't see any in the Q&A or the chat, but would really love to hear from folks what questions you might have. And, in the meantime, I have to say, Lisa, I was really jealous about your mac and cheese party. And so I'm like, my question for Lisa is, when is that? And can I get an invite?
It's one of our favorites. I'll have to send you a picture of our mac and cheese trophy.
Oh, please.
It's
Yes.
super cute. Yeah. And we keep it in the suite and they list the names of each year's winner. So yeah. And those family traditions really help enhance that sense of campus family and build
Yeah,
community. So yeah,
absolutely.
it's been fun.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I'm curious, as you both have built programs and I mean, just the programming that both of your programs have is incredible and really diverse in different ways. And also thinking about, Jasmine, you have a geographically diverse population. Lisa, you have a diverse population of students on your campus. How are you able to sort of meet the needs of this like great diversity? And maybe Jasmine, you want to speak to like the diversity just geographically across Florida, and Lisa, like the diversity of your students.
Yeah, I would say within across Florida, sorry, I heard an echo for a second. I think really being intentional about some of our deliverables and having those regional forums and specific like one-on-one conversations with our points of contact at their colleges and university really helps us stay keyed in on what those needs are and how we can loop in different resources and contacts to help address that in that area. Because Florida is huge, and with that, there's some areas that are really well versed in one area, and more of our rural areas may need additional support and guidance. So really just staying in contact with the regional piece of it has really helped us to try to make sure that we're meeting the needs of everyone and not just our large city populations.
So our student advisory board meets every week with our senior staff over fall and spring semesters, and then every other week over summer. And really part of their function is to kind of amplify the voices of other students in the program about their diverse strengths as well as their needs. And so we're always engaging with them to try and keep our finger on the pulse of what those items are and how we can best serve them and coordinate with them. And then they, depending on where they are in sort of our cohort model, they're frequently meeting with our senior staff on groups or on an individual level. And then we're just meeting each student where they are as well. Okay.
Sorry, I
Yes.
see a comment.
Yeah.
Did you see the comment in the chat? Thanks,
They
Lisa.
do. Many of them do. And I'm sure it's just like other students. The question is, do our students have a high participation rate across campus, student orgs and other student support offices? They become very involved, and some show up to campus ready to do everything. Others, it might take a minute for them to sort of start to feel comfortable enough to do that. Initially, I think when the program launched, some of the students were feeling very hesitant about being a scholar right? An Unconquered Scholar with this history. Some students show up on campus with imposter syndrome and even sense of shame. And once they're in the program and they're around the other students and they're getting all this strengths, perspective, engagement with staff, what we found was within probably a year and a half or so, they're like, will you please buy us t-shirts that say we're an Unconquered Scholar, right? We want people to know, like, that this is who we are. And this is our program, and this is what we do. And so that really, I feel like, just changed sort of the mindset. And now that's just sort of the status quo for our students, for a lot of them. So yeah, they're a very active crew.
Lisa, can I jump in and just ask, how far and wide are you sharing those kind of stats on the graduation and the completion that you shared on that last slide? I mean, that's the question we get all the time about all of our programs in Georgia. So if you want to chat about A, how you collect it, and B, where all you're sharing that.
Yeah, no, I'd be happy. And for those of you that don't know, Lori, like, leadership oriented stuff. And I think that nicely ties into the way we've designed the program as well. So yeah, we share that pretty much anytime we present. We talk about it. Of course, those numbers change over time, right? But not by much, honestly. I think the lowest I've ever seen it is an 85% 6-year graduation rate. And we collected because we track our students in a system. They're actually kind of hidden under codes so that people don't really know who they are. We want to protect their privacy, but we're able to pull data through institutional research services, right? And figure out how they're doing. So once we do it, it's really not complicated. We just use BI and ask for updated reports, and we've been coordinating with Dr. Lisa Shelby at FSU for a program evaluation. And so we're continuing to, try and do more on the evaluation piece. Because what I'm sure all of us have encountered are folks maybe higher in the administration, not necessarily at FSU. We've had a ton of support, who are wary of what the research suggests are their graduation rates. And one of the best counter arguments to that, and really encouraging other institutions to develop campus support programs, is to help them realize that the students are amazing. It's the system that's broken. And if you can modify the system, they're going to do very, very well. And here's a little bit of evidence to support that. And then we provide them with our data.
That's wonderful. And yes, I'm like, say it louder for the people in the back. Modify the system, not the student. I would just love, we have a couple minutes, and I would love to hear from both of you. Your programs have been going on for a while. They're well developed, they're robust. You've had a lot of success, not without ups and downs, I'm sure. But if there's one piece of advice from the statewide side, from the programmatic side, that you would give to folks, what would that be? And maybe Jasmine, we'll start with you.
I would say one piece of advice. I find that oftentimes this work, especially from the statewide side, I think in both sides, can feel like you're working on an island or in silos, but being that advocate and that voice about the importance and the why of this work, I think is really key. And just collaborating with as many people as possible to get on board. It might take a little bit, but just really that advocacy, and just collaborating with as many people as possible to work towards our student success.
I agree with Jasmine, even on the campus level. And I think the other piece of advice would be to center student leadership and lived experience and expertise in the design and operation of your program. That I think is absolutely essential to be sure that the program is doing what it's intended to do, which is adequately serve the students. And just because we're administrators doesn't mean we know best what they are looking to find on our campus or what they're encountering.
Thank you both. I really hear that nothing about us without us on multiple levels, right? At the core, for our students, we should do nothing about them without them. And then for our other partners, they're experts in other spaces, and we want to make sure that we are bringing them into the development as well. Thank you both so much. It's been wonderful to have you. And I think folks know where to find you, but we'll make sure. I'm just going to pop this last slide up just to make sure that they know where to find you. And if there's any questions, they can reach out to you. You both have been so gracious with your time. And for everybody out there, just a quick reminder that, again, you can find this recording and the previous FAAN webinar recording on our website shortly. And thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Take care and goodbye.